Hello YouTube, I'm Crispy Charizard and this is Pokemon 101. This is my brand new Pokemon YouTube series where I'll be discussing various Pokemon topics. And in order to break the ice, I decided to talk about the Pokemon creation myth. So let's get started. Now most of you may think that Arceus, or however you pronounce this name, although I pronounce it Arceus, created the universe in the Pokemon creation myth or whatever. And formalities aside, that's technically true, but I'm discussing the theory that is a little bit more complicated than that. I mean, technically, yes, Arceus did create the universe, but who created Arceus is the whole point of this discussion. Because he did not create himself, or it did not create itself, would be more technically correct. And it did not technically exist forever, because its Pokédex entry does say that it was born from an egg before anything else existed. Now, if you didn't want to believe any of that and call it mythology, well then you don't have to worry about anything. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that everything in Pokédexes are relatively true. For the most part. You know, within reason. So, and as you probably guessed, of course, most people already know, but maybe they don't, that what came before Arceus was the Unown. Unown are usually pushed aside, insignificant, you know, they're not that strong. No one really likes them. They're mysterious, they're small, and the whole point of this theory is to prove why I think is that Unown are the creator of Arceus. I'll be using these three movies for evidence. You know, Pokemon the Movie 3, Pokemon The Rise of Darkrai, and Pokemon Arceus and the Jewel of Life. I'll also be using some anime evidence and some video game evidence to help out to prove this theory. Now, the Pokédex entries for Unown are pretty diverse, but if you look at Platinum's and Black, White, Black 2, and White 2's entries, it says, when alone, nothing happens. However, if there are two or more, an odd power is said to emerge. Now, this is very significant. The point being that Unown are actually very weak on their own, and even in small groups, they're more powerful, but still not that powerful. You'd have to have an immense number of Unown in order to, well, warp reality or create things as they did in many movies and episodes. Arceus' Pokédex entry usually say the same things. It is described as shaping the universe with its 1,000 arms, which it's never seen with. I don't see it having 1,000 arms. That's not really important. It said that it was born before the universe even existed, but the big important part is that it's said to have emerged from an egg in a place where there was nothing, then shaped the world. Basically, that's odd because, you know, in the games, legendary Pokemon don't come from eggs, they don't breed, they're not born, they're just there. Now, Arceus having been born from an egg doesn't make much sense either, because where the egg come from? And as you probably have guessed by now, I'm guessing that the Unown created the egg. Now, how do Unown have this power? Well, it's pretty obvious. But first of all, we have to start from the beginning. Basically, the universe at its most basic level is the unknown dimension. It has been seen and mentioned many times in the anime. And, it's basically a giant space where all the Unown come from. And there's lots of them, and they live there forever. Saying that there's that many I'm going back to that entry that says that they become more powerful in large numbers. Now, Unown only know a single move, Hidden Power, which is pretty basic. But in the anime, Hidden Power can do lots of random stuff. And the whole point of Hidden Power is that depending on the Pokemon's individual values, it becomes a different type. So while Unown is always going to be a Psychic type, its Hidden Power, depending on the individual, can be any type. So, if we assume that Hidden Power can create things if used by Unown in large numbers, then, you know, The whole point being that Unown created Arceus. In the third Pokemon movie, that doctor, Molly's father, professor, he accidentally entered the Unown's dimension when he was studying them. Basically, they're very unpredictable creatures, it looks like. They're sentient, but I don't know how intelligent they are. But, in that movie, they also were controlled by Molly. Now, I don't remember exactly how Molly accomplished this, but it may have something to do with the relationship they have with the wall writings that they are represented as. What's important is the relationship that Unown have with Arceus. I'm assuming that Arceus was hatched from an egg that was created by the Unown. Now, the Pokédex did say that the egg was in a place where there was nothing. Now, that kind of contradicts the fact that Unown they're not nothing, but still. It has to mean something that, I said earlier that I'm not going to take everything literally, but I'm going to believe it to a point. It's up to interpretation. I'm interpreting this as the Unown created an egg. Now, for what reason, no one knows, and I'm not going to even try to figure out why they did that. Why did they do anything? Who knows? They're very strange. So they created Arceus' egg, Arceus hatches from it, and he makes everything else. The whole point of making everything else was Arceus' business. And it's just possible that the Arceus is still being controlled by the Unown in some way. It's like they have some sort of power over him since they created him. Now, for evidence for this, I guess I have to mention the event where you can get Arceus in the Generation 4 games. Now, I'm not talking about the one with the Sinja runes. I'm talking about the one that was undistributed, the Azure Flute. Basically, if you have this flute, which you can still get with hacking, basically you can go to Spear Pillar, use it, and you can go and battle Arceus and catch him. Now, I don't have sound files or anything, but if you listen to the sound of the Azure Flute, it sounds very similar to the very beginning of the opening theme of the Platinum, Pearl, and Diamond games. At the beginning of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, there's a little bit of music that sounds exactly like the Azure Flute. I listened to it, and it was exactly the same. Almost. Now, some have said that this is also similar to the mysterious transmission that you hear on your radio in the Ruins of Alph, which is said to be the way that Unown communicate. Now, in some places you read that they communicate via telepathy, and others say that they communicate via radio waves. Now, telepathy and radio waves are not the same thing, as far as I know. So, there's a little bit of discrepancy there, but I'm not gonna interpret that as significant. Radio waves, telepathy, whatever. Maybe they use both. In fact, I think I decided they're gonna use both if they want to, because they're psychic types. They can use telepathy, and they're Unown. They have radio waves, as is evidenced by the radio. If you listen to the radio, you hear that weird, little creepy sound that they make to communicate with each other. Now, some have said that that sound sounds like the song of the Azure Flute when you summon Arceus. Now, I listened and it didn't sound very similar. But if that were true, then that means that the whole reason Arceus showed up at that, Spear Pillar to battle you was because it heard that song. Or maybe the item is significant, but I don't know. But does that mean that Arceus can be summoned by the Unown? Are the Unown in control of Arceus? Who knows? The whole point being that that radio wave was said by someone on the internet to sound like the Azure Flute, but I didn't hear it very well. But who's more powerful? Unown or Arceus? Well, logically, Unown has to be more powerful because Unown created Arceus. Right? So, and of course Arceus created Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. If you play that event at the Sinja Ruins, a bunch of Unown appear for a while. You see these Unown, which means that Arceus summoned them. Which means that they have some sort of mutual relationship. This mutual relationship might be significant in finding out exactly who created the universe. I'm still betting that Unown created the egg that turned into Arceus, and Arceus created a bunch of other things. More evidence can be found in that movie, Arceus and the Jewel of Life, where this item called the time-space axis can be seen. The time-space axis is basically a model of the universe. The blue sphere is Dialga's world, the purple one is Palkia's world, the green one at the bottom is our world, the large egg-shaped one in the middle is Arceus' world, and the small one that is usually orbiting our world is Giratina's distortion or reverse world, which has been said to be made of antimatter, or whatever. If this model is accurate, and I'm going with that it is, where is Unown's world, the unknown dimension? Well, the only answer that I have is that it is the space in between these worlds. These worlds are sometimes touching, but usually they're not. So, what's in between them? Empty space? I think that it's Unown's dimension. And it goes off infinitely in every direction. With these just being, in the middle. Since I assume that there's no other worlds. Unless you believe in the multiverse theory, but that's for another video. So basically, the Unown are in between these dimensions, as can be seen in the movie. When Dialga and Palkia are fighting at the beginning of The Rise of Darkrai, they can be seen scattering a whole bunch of Unown around them, which means that when the blue orb and the purple orb in this model collided, some Unown got in there. Since Unown can travel wherever they want, but they prefer to be in their own dimension, which is, I assume, that empty space around these spheres. Now, in certain places, for unknown reasons, unknown joke, Unown can come into our world and pretend to be like hieroglyphs and stuff like that, like in the ruins of Alph seen here. Now, so they've been doing this since ancient times, as been seen in the Pokédex in the anime. And wherever this happens, people usually build ruins or like temples around them. And people even made their alphabet after them, I assume, because, the alphabet isn't older than them. So they inspired the human alphabet. Arceus created the trio that maintained the physical world, and the trio that maintained the spiritual world. My personal theory is that it also created Mew, which is the ancestor of all common Pokemon. I don't know where else Mew could have come from other than that it was created by Arceus. It is noteworthy that this new Generation 7 Pokemon type Null, its helmet kind of looks like Arceus' body. That may be a coincidence, but it also may be significant. It's fun to find out in the future exactly what it means, but until then I have no idea what it means. It's probably a coincidence. I don't know. And I'd like to shout out to Bulbapedia and Cerebi for information and pictures. They are great help, and I'm a big fan of their websites. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you do, you'll probably get better content.